Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Knoll, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite Creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue wisdom and the many blessings from the universe. And with that said, greetings, y'all. I hope you're doing as well as possible under whatever circumstances you may be in. I know that it's a crazy world out there. That's for dang sure. Hey, Dead End. Hey, Travis. Shaman, the third party, the one who is a diplomat between this world and the next. Yep, that's a sort of good, simple definition there, Dead End. Um, but for me, and the reason I'm doing this is because people have asked me about this, and it also came up in one of my little um, meditation moments. You doing all right, Travis? And it's good to see you both. In that, it took me a long time to even consider calling myself a shaman. There were other people who were calling me a shaman long before I did, because I was just sort of on the path of the hermit, you know. And then it was like, well, yeah, but wait a minute, you've kind of moved into a different category there, Dave, Hawkeye, and okey doke. So I'm hoping that I can kind of sort of give a little Mark the Ark. How do you doing? How do you doing? How you doing? So I got this bowl. Hey, Chloe, I got this bowl that I just really want to light up. And I know it's after the 20 mark, but close enough. Fake it, right? So, from a religion kind of viewpoint, to be a shaman would sort of like, that you want to be a pastor or a priest or a nun, or, you want to be a cleric. You want to be one of the clergy somehow. You just don't want to sit out in the audience and be a participant. You want to be more involved. And not everybody gets that calling, whether it's within a Christian church or whatever, or, uh, if you're in the Jewish religion, that to become oh my goodness gracious. I can tell it's going to be one of those nights that where I can't quite get to the word. The Jewish priest, the rabbi. You have three names: Two Feather, Hawkeye, and David. Well, actually, only two, unless you want to count my middle name, which is Wayne. No, but Hawkeye Two Feathers is kind of sort of it's the name because I kept finding I kept finding two feathers, and I found two hawk feathers. So the two feathers is kind of got to stick with Hawkeye. It's synonymous or something. But anyway, but to the part of the shaman, so the first part of the journey, I was looking at a riverbed. There were plants and things and rock. Anyway, America. La 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 la. Now I got a dang song on my head. But you got to decide if you even want to go there. You know, if you want to be more than just a member of the audience. And like I just said, not everybody has the calling. to be a priest or a nun or whatever. And I knew at the age of 4 or 5 that I was going to be a hermit and live in the woods because that's what my aunt has told me and grandmother and all and folks. But so this has been going on a long time for me, where for other folks, you know, they don't, not necessarily. My good friend Sally, she 12 years older than me. I mean, almost exactly within a couple of days. We're both Libras. I think she was born like September 29th and I'm the 24th. But anyway, she decided to be an Episcopalian priest. Um, and she didn't start until like she was 70, which has been like 12 years ago now. But, she studied to be a pastor, to be a minister, literally. And I was like, what? She said, yeah, I know. I got the calling late. But now I need to call Miss Sally too and reconnect. But sometimes my brain don't work so good. But anyway, um, the fact that she didn't start studying or have the inclination to even become a minister of any kind until she was in her late 60s, which is kind of sort of what's happened to me. Interesting that we've had similar paths in that. So this idea of becoming a shaman, it for her it took most of her life before she decided to become a pastor, and to study for the priesthood, in the Episcopal Church. And um, she makes a wonderful priest. She gives great sermons, because she's level-headed and so forth, and she's also an artist. And but anyway, so and she can connect with because she is an artist and works within the community. She also has a connection with the community. So she can work, that works well as a pastor, where she can minister. So anyway, um, folks don't get callings when they're 4 years old, like I did to be a hermit in the middle of the woods on a river and didn't know what a hermit was. And it took me a while to kind of figure that part out. So, but for other people, so quote, a religiousness might not show up. And I will say, more of a spiritualism kind of thing. Now, is it because we're too busy growing up that we don't see it, or something like that? Or is it that our normal lives, like Miss Sally, I mean, she was busy with children and grandchildren, and now she's busy with great grandchildren, I think. But in that somehow through it all, the spiritualism part kicked in. Is it because when you become older, you become more aware of your mortality, and you start thinking more spiritual in some ways, shapes, or factions? Or is it that you're just the type of person that you are, that you're drawn to this kind of thing? A shaman is a priest for the essence of nature. For what I looked at, thank you, Dead End. That a shaman is the go between the spiritual and the non-spiritual. You know, so if that is the truth, then the spiritual part of this is obviously there. You know, because otherwise you wouldn't have picked being that type of person, right? or to be a priest or a nun or whomever. So for me, over the years, I've studied all these other religions, and until I came to Native American traditions. So I was already on a spiritualism kind of kick, if you will, journey, I would rather use. So I'm already on a spiritualism kind of journey, but I didn't know it was a shamanic journey, you know? It was just for myself. Also an herbalist. Hey, Barry, how you doing? I was talking about you today. Was wondering if your ears were burning. It was all good, but um, so, but once I decided that I was. It seemed like I was kind of sort of headed down this direction of having something to do with being a medicine man or an herbalist, which I was back in the day more than I am now. And I'd really like to get back into that kick. Um, and I'm healing better than I was a week ago. And I think some of it has to do with my mental picturing of, and this is part of being a shaman, by the way, and being able to mentally picture something, to be able to see it in your head and also with your third eye kind of sort of thing. And I was having bone pain, which I think I mentioned before to y'all. And then the bone pain, where they literally ground the end of the bones off in my on my spine, which was part of the deal, right? But had not considered the bone pain. So after having this dum da da dum moment to explain why am I hurting so badly, as I pulled the bear card tonight on Robert's show, the bear is introspection. So kind of sort of in a little bit of a hibernation mode in the brain to like, all right, now why is this happening? There's got to be a reason for this pain, or you know. And then after being quiet and shutting up, the shaman part of me kicked in, and the universe kicked in, and it was like, here it is, it's bone pain. Oh, so you have to go within to find the answer, right? The answers are already there. We just have to be quiet enough to listen. So hearing the answer, I was like, holy crap. And then for me in my visualization, I send my little group, Bob the Builder and his guys down there with spackling compound and trowels to cover up the ends of the bone to help it heal. So lo and behold, Saturday and Sunday, me and Duggar, you know, taking a walk. I get him out, got to go dump the garbage and check the mail, and which is a good way up the driveway. And so, hey Travis, how you doing? Oh, I did it, did it. Um, so on the way back down the driveway, I was like, you know, it hurts, but it ain't too bad. It ain't shooting down my legs. And oh, holy mackerel, I actually came down the driveway easier than I went up. And I was amazed that, yeah, I was stiff and sore, but it wasn't the same kind of pain and sore. So I'm like, wow, I'm actually making progress after 2 months. Holy crap, you know? Wow. And I could actually carry my cane and walk a little ways. And today, a friend of mine was here and we walked out to check out my new boat, which is an old boat, which is a new boat, but old, it's used. But anyway, so I was like, you know, since you're here, I'm going to walk out in the yard without my cane. And hobbled out there and not too fast and made it out there and looked at the boat and talked and stood for a few minutes before the storm hit, and then swung back around and picked up Duggar's toy and came back in the house. So, you know, progress is being made, you know, personally, and the pain, and I'm still having trouble standing up for a long time and so forth, but I can see progress at least. So, but with the shaman part of it, you have to see a little bit of progress. So, in understanding something, so for the person who's like, so what do I do? Well, for for me, anything that is spiritual, you have to connect with nature because just being connected with nature is spiritual, in my humble opinion. Just get stoned or drink or sweat. So, but anyway, so how much of a cleric do we want to be if we're in the Christian, religion? Do you want to be a priest, or do you just want to be a monk, or do you just want to pass out flyers on church on Sundays? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but so what is the level of this? So as a shaman, you have to if that is what you showing up and want to follow. Um, Being a medicine man, meaning, learning about herbs, which means being in touch with nature. So you get this connection with nature. Now, that is a level of being a shaman, right? You have to find your own connection with nature and how you are connected with nature. Now, that's going to change on you over the years. As you get up on these levels, you're going to find other levels of your connection with nature. When you're actually trying to understand more about the universe or something, you sort of level up because you feel that your connection with the universe is more powerful, and you have these aha moments and you go, aha, I see how this is connected, and aha, I understand what my role is more in the universe, and aha. And every time you have one of those aha moments, you kind of move up a level. It's like if you're playing a video game, you're gaining them little gold coins. You're building up your spare lives or whatever. So, um, but if you think that shamanism is just like this flat line of stuff, that's not true. It's anything but a straight line kind of thing, and it's not necessarily bumpy, but it is. So the road to being a shaman in practice, in a shaman in training, like I still consider myself to be, or just I say shaman in that every one of us that is being spiritual is a shaman in training because we're learning with ourselves and the universe our own levels of spirituality. So the shaman part of it is nothing more than, to me, a word to describe our um, human connection. So I'm human, and to be spiritual and to learn the connection between human and spiritual, I therefore must become a shaman, you see. So in learning to be more spiritual, simply almost by definition, I have become a shaman just because I want to learn to be more spiritual and how does this work and so forth. So, for every one of you out there who's learning to become more spiritual, you're learning to become a shaman of sorts. Whether, it's how much of that do you want to, how intense do you want to be in that? Do you want to be a hermit like me and live down in the woods, or so what level of this do you want to take? And so for some of us, we say, well, I don't see anything in the future and it's not going to be like this or that. And I said that a few years back. And now here I sit and I'm like, wow, I didn't know this was going to happen like this. I had knew I wanted to be spiritual. I knew I was a hermit of sorts. I knew I was connected with the universe through spiritualism, but how in the hell did I how in the hell did I become a shaman in all this? I don't remember thinking that a medicine man, but medicine man more of an understanding of the spiritual, but I wanted to be more of a medicine man with herbs and things. And that got swapped around, but okie dokie. So there's medicine in all different kinds of things, being kind to someone, lending an ear when somebody needs to chat. There's a lot of ways to have medicine for someone. What does having medicine mean? Well, somebody's having a bad day and you go over and you help them out, or somebody's in line and something, and you you pay for their groceries or something, or you do this random act of kindness, right? And it's like the other day when we last week when we went to IHOP, left a $10 tip. And like I'm sure that this young lady who was very kind and waited on us very, was very few people in the place, but nonetheless she waited on us very nicely and brought us stuff and was a little ahead in her thinking. When she brought something, she brought an extra napkin. She anyway, but she was on top of stuff. So I can't remember what the bill came out to, but I probably owed her another five if you gave her the full, you know, gratuity from what we paid. But just thinking, most people leave a dollar or two, maybe, or some spare change. But I was like, nah, we're gonna leave this at least at least $10. And we're poor people on Social Security, but I was like, she gets at least $10. Okay, so don't know what the look on her face was or what that means, but how many times in her day, especially when there wasn't many people there, um, was she going to make $10 in tips at all? So, but I don't think about what. But the idea is that it was given with complete, she deserves it, blah 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 blah. Whatever my internal feeling about some of these things sometimes, you know, I, and my point was she gets at least $10. What do you mean she gets at least? Well, I'm kind of thinking maybe I should give her a 20, but I was running out of change with anyway, but and so but I thought but $10 ain't no slouch as a tip. So not trying to be judgmental in that respect or whatever, but anyway, so here's $10. So I probably should have gave her 20. I'm, I'm having a moment here of like retrospect. But anyway, the fact that I would even think about it a week later is like, man, I should have gave her more. I should have went ahead and gave her the 20. But anyway, I'm sure that she was grateful for the $10. But because, having worked as a waiter myself and bus tables and so forth, a $10 tip, even in today's time, ain't bad. So, but anyway, but in the idea of being the shaman, no, I kind of worked into it. I didn't know that I was going to be a shaman. I knew I was going to be spiritual. I knew I was going to be a hermit. So the different levels of this understanding came with my connection that when I started going to powwows, and then I started being a part of the powwow circuit, and I got to sit down and eat, dinner and with many of the elders, and some of them were shaman types and legend keepers, like yeah, what's his name? Yeah, I'll think of it in a minute. But so you find out along the way if your journey is spiritually, if that's what it's meant for you to be, that you find out that you gain information and you gain an education. So you hear from the elders what it's like. And then I had the opportunity to actually, he lived with me for 9 months, and honest to God, sure enough, card carrying medicine man. And so then I had shown up one-on-one training with a medicine man about procedures and things and stuff that I did not know about, which pushed me into a different level of being a shaman, which I was still on the medicine man kind of kick, right? Learning how to do full moon ceremonies and learning how to do ceremonies in general and learning how to connect with the spirit and this and the physical, and then so that was another level up, right? So depending on how you wish to look at it, are you going to study with the elders? Do you want to learn how to do a ceremony? Do you want to just learn how to do private ceremonies? Or do you want to learn how to do a full moon ceremony or a water ceremony or a river water ceremony kind of? Do you want to do this kind of ceremony? Um, or are you going to dress um, in shaman clothes, in regalia? Because if I'm going to do a ceremony, then I'm going to dress in my regalia and I'm going to have face paint on and I'm going to have my jingle bells around my ankles. So I'm not going to just be here like I am. I'm going to be I guess you could say, to be in character, right? So, well, wait a minute. Do I even want regalia? Do I want to be in costume, as it were? Do I want to, how far do I want to go with this? Do I just want to sit around the fire and do some mushrooms and be spiritual and or how far do I want to go with this? So for me, every time I made a decision, well, I'm going to learn how to drum. I'm going to learn how to dance. I want to learn how to do these um, ceremonies. So it wasn't until I was in my 50s that I'd made that decision to go that extra bit, right? So even though I had drummed a little bit earlier on, but not really, I had done some spiritual shaman stuff with mushrooms and sitting around the fire and doing some um, spiritual investigations, I guess you could say. But all of that built up to when I met the medicine man, when I started talking with the elders, when I was going out to the powwows and meeting and dancing for myself and dancing with others and understanding what that felt like, and then doing the ceremonies myself and being taught to do ceremonies for a group of people and to share that experience. So every single one of these was another level in the shaman thing. But for every one of those levels of like learning to have how to drive a car, well, okay, but you can drive a car, but you don't know how to back up. Okay. And there's some people who don't know how to back up. Had a friend of mine just dent the front end of their vehicle again. Oh my God. And some of them don't know how to drive forward, but in parallel park now, I was really good at it for some reason. And I taught other people how to parallel park, and now you take your hands off the wheel and it parks itself. It just, But anyway, so what is the level? Do you want it to be automatic? You want somebody else to do the drum, or do you want to participate? Meaning, do you want to learn how to parallel park your damn self, or do you want to let the car do it? So the more involved you are with it, so the more I became involved with nature, And after retiring and having spent more time on the river, and and then the medicine man shaman thing kicked in more. So I wanted to be more a part of nature and more of to see what nature has to offer. And so I looked out the window differently. The green was a different color green. When I went to the river, it wasn't just her and me in a kayak and Duggar. It was now a spiritual moment to where the water has spiritualness in it. There's energy in the water. Hey, Delaney, how you doing? Was thinking about you today. Um, Nightberry, hope the pond's coming along. Have a great. I saw a gray fox last night outside my work. First time I saw it. Cool beans. Maybe getting stoned and going through that is just a step to where you need to go. Yes, it absolutely has a role. Absolutely, dead end. Just here's the thing. There are times that I have gone down to the woods in the middle of the night and not known why, and built a fire and sat around it and just communed with nature. Did anything special happen or not really? But sometimes it was just being outside, and it was that I broke the monotony of whatever I was doing at the time, and that I had to have a fire. I had to have that connection with quote camping kind of thing, and looking at the stars, and so for every time I built a fire outside, there was a spiritualness in it. Hey, Loretta, me personally, I'm okay with shrooms by my. I don't need the fire, just a starry sky. Yeah, I used to be that way too. But see, there's something about the fire. It's about the elements. It's about water and air and fire, and there's something about the um, the element of fire. And there's also the dancing of the light. Especially if I'm down in the woods like that, I got a really small fire. I mean, the thing ain't this big around, you know, and I'm not using logs. I'm using twigs. It's just to have enough light because I'm down in the woods, you know. But also in that, I've been camping since I was a young lad, and there's just something about the fire. There's something about the smell of the smoke. It's the whole thing about the fire and it. But also because it's one of the elements. As I've learned more about shamanism, so I'll take good company over substances. Yeah, but sometimes when you can share a substance with good company, that's even better company. I see sky entities and communicate with them. They come from the stars, seemingly, and light bothers me. Yep. Oh, I agree with you, Loretta. Yeah, going out to parties and stuff while on shrooms is like, nah. And I ain't saying, but like as far as a fire goes, it's not a bonfire. But I like to just small, contain fires that just gives a little light and a little warmth and a little, little something anyway, because I've been a camper for so long. But anyway, yeah, let's roll a big hooter and pass it around, if nothing else, or have roll two of them up and start one on that end and start one over here, and then they'll meet in the middle. But So, but from the shaman point, you know, it's like years ago, I had several epiphanies, and I've talked about them in the past where, I was out on the lake in the middle of the night and I was literally taken up into the sky. Well, then later on, I was out on the lake in the middle of the night and I was taken up into the universe. It was the same sky, but a totally different perspective on how nature and how this being swooped up into the universe thing was. And so similar events, but very different in how I perceived it, saw it, and how it affected me. And so there was a different level again that kicked in. One was a little more subtle than the other one. Both were profound to me at the time. I even did videos on them and discussed it. And so, it was still profound. It still moved me along on my shaman journey, my spiritual journey. But, but each time something like that happens, every time you have a decent epiphany on something, you move up a notch, if notches are what you're looking at. Another level, another layer, another something. So if you've had an epiphany about something, your awareness has gone up. Your awakening as a spiritual person has just opened the door a little bit more so you can look at it out at the sunrise or whatever. Your awareness of the universe. I mean, I used to be pissed off at all these things, and now I look at them and go, don't sweat the small stuff. And years ago when I look at back on some of the titles and how I made some of the videos, and I was like, God Almighty, I was really scared and paranoid, and oh my God. And now I'm like, yeah, it's not that I don't care about it. It's not that I don't think it's important, but it's like I've said in some of my other videos, and I will continue, don't worry about what's going on the other side of the planet. Quit affecting yourself with things you cannot fix or change. We can send prayers to all kinds of folks, but to lose sleep over something going on in Russia or the Ukraine, and Putin's like Hitler, and no, he ain't. And this is like this and that, and people wait. Their whole lives are tuned into these other things when and I was so involved on all those other things on so many different fronts that I couldn't pay attention to what was really important, which was right here in front of me. And because I was so worried about what was going on in China or something. And it's like, cut it out. So those things that we can affect within our lives is what we need to, I say, worry about. We shouldn't worry about anything, but we should be more concerned or pay attention to. So, and that's another level of being a shaman, because those elders that I have met, nothing seems to phase them. Well, what about this? Yeah. Well, what about that over there? Yeah. Well, what about this over there? Yeah. You know, how high is the water, Mama? Well, it's 3 feet high and rising. How high is the water, Papa? He said it's 3 feet high and rising. And until it gets up to about 4 or 5 feet, we just ain't gonna worry about it. So it's an old Johnny Cash song. Um, I think it's called 5 Feet High and Rising. Maybe it's 3 feet high and rising. But anyway, old Johnny Cash song. Early 60s or late 50s, maybe even. But Johnny Cash. Yep. And the chickens are sleeping in the willow trees, cows in water up past their knees. Yep, down there, 3 feet high and rising. But anyway, so, but, we don't sweat it until it gets up to a certain point. Uh, And then when it gets up to like your navel, then maybe we should discuss getting in a rowboat or something, you know? Yeah, well, we had a lot of rain. Yeah. Is it, well, the front yard's flooded, but, don't sweat it. So where before, oh my God, we're going to die. We had 2 inches of rain, or oh my God. So you don't sweat the small stuff, you know? And even though that might look like something huge at the moment, got a lot of critters making noise around here. Or there's some critters in between that are making a lot of noise. But anyway, so um, what concerned me 5 years ago, what concerned me 3 years ago is not. I look back on some of this stuff and go, man, I think I think I moved up another notch because I'm not worried about that right there. That used to concern me and it doesn't anymore. I'm still keeping my eye on it. And what about that over there? And well, I'm keeping my eye on it, but I'm not losing sleep over it. So there, I say as we mature, now I consider it maturity for myself, but I see other people who are just, they're getting rip roaring drunk over some of this stuff. I mean, they're so involved and worried about this and that and Ukraine and stuff. It's giving them an ulcer, you know, and they're getting drunk on it because it gives them some kind of high. And so the another notch on the shaman belt would to see it for what it is, and you go, oh, I need to keep an eye on that, but it doesn't really concern me, you know. And I damn sure shouldn't get upset about it. So you've moved on another notch because you have peace of mind. I would agree with that up to up to a point in that my mind is at peace over certain subjects, over certain conditions, or over certain whatevers. But to just say that my mind is at peace, yeah, well, maybe not the whole thing. You know what I mean? Mostly, yeah, my mind is pretty much at peace. But there are still some things that aggravate me, and I wish some folks would, like get a grip on. But the things that used to really bother me and kind of sort of keep me up at night, I those things I have come to peace with, and my mind is at peace with that. So you're right about that dead end, but I just wanted to add that little other tidbit to that. So for every time that we have an aha moment, remember that that's another notch that we have moved up or have potentially moved up a notch. And I say potentially, it's because, I have known people, who give, I get an A for this. Or, I learned this today and see how special I am. And, I tried I one of the last times that I can remember where I did something like that was when I had that moment in the lake and I was taken up into the things and I was like, "Hey everybody, look at me. Hey Steve, I meant to call you back and I didn't. I'm sorry." Um I've had a nagger of a headache these last few days. I'm sitting here and I can't move around a whole lot without it hurting. Um, and I'm not this, I'm going to come around and I'm going to try to hold out for an hour. But in the grand scheme of things, is like, so do you, how do you, how do you gauge your progress? And so it's like for myself and going over this is like, it's hard because if you try to gauge, well, how am I doing? Well, I made great big giant steps or something. Well, you can say, well, I had this realization the other day that, and I did years ago about this. I'm fixing to use it as an example that all water is connected, and that the energy in water, and somebody had made that statement years ago. All water is connected, all the oceans and all the streams and and I was like, yeah, that's interesting. But at the time, I wasn't thinking about the energy of water. Yeah, all the water's connected. Yeah, that's really interesting. But then there's another depth of that statement. Water has energy, and then and to think about the energy of water, and that all water is connected. Oh, holy shit, man. Whoa. So that was a different level of understanding about the same thing that I had heard like years before, but had not drawn that conclusion or that understanding of the energy in water and so forth. I understood be back when the connection was made, but I did not make the connection of all water is connected and water is really powerful. So the levels of understanding come as you go, as you age, and some things just all of a sudden you seem like now for me at least it was like, oh wow, I caught on to this. And then it was, oh wow, I caught on to that. And then, oh wow. So when I realized certain things back a few years ago, there were a couple of levels that just seemed like, one behind the other. It was almost like one great big giant step up in the notch kind of thing. But it was several things that led to it. It was like the understanding of the water and the connection. And then there was the, hey, how are you? Tia, try? Howdy. Yes, I'm getting ready to fill my bowl. Yeah, it's 1:17. Ooh, it's getting close. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got me a little buddy down here. I'll put in my bowl. But so I said this years ago, and over the months and years since I've said this, it still makes sense to me. And it's like it is a true statement to me, at least, is that people are waiting on the ascension, and they're waiting on, hey, ganja man, how are you? Here, I got my little bowl I'm packing up, and it's 118, so we're getting close. You said it yourself. It comes through a series of realizations or moments of clarity. Yep, it does. And so, you can be clear about something today, and 6 months later, you go, oh man, I thought I was clear on that. Whoa. And so, oh, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's not ascension, is it? Rapture, rapture, rapture. Tracy just hiding from trolls. Hey, Tracy. Well, I'm glad. I was looking down there going, TRA, is that what it, I don't, my glasses are someplace else. But hey, Tracy, how are you? Hiding from the trolls. So then you give your real name and the trolls will find you. But no, but anyway, So that moment that the two moments that I had on the, how you doing, Alex? Um, the two moments that I had on the lake in the middle of the night, they were both rapturous moments. So there are people who are waiting on the rapture, and I have spoke about this before. It's been a while now, but that all kinds. You can have a rapture moment at any moment, you know. But does the rapture mean that you're heading to heaven or whatever? But a rapturous moment can be, that an aha moment that fills you full of joy and this and that. And you go, aha, boy, do I understand this now. Oh, wow, on such a different level. And oh my goodness. And wow, I can never forget this. It's gonna, it's gonna be hard to unlearn this, and unless I get Alzheimer's or something, Um, but so the rapture can happen at any moment, and rapturous moments can happen, throughout your lifetime. And those rapturous moments are those aha moments when you put another notch on your belt for your spiritualism. Oh my God, I never thought about that. Oh, what about, wow, I heard about this and it really clicked with me. And ooh, and it's a 20, I think. Yep. So along the way of becoming a shaman, which, like I said earlier, I was going to be a medicine man, but I was just going to be a hermit that lived in the woods. And then I was just going to be you know, and so it has been a progression for me, and it still is. But, one of the things that I've learned, to expect is the unexpected. One thing that is absolutely assured in life is that life is learning how to adapt every day. Sometimes it's learning how to adapt. Good, ganja man, keeping the energy high. That's a good thing. So there has been a rapturous moment for me in that, like sitting down and talking with somebody else, and they're trying to understand the universe, and you're just having a conversation. They ask me questions and I'm giving them answers, and I'm expounding upon whatever the topic is, and all of a sudden they go, aha, and you look over and go, really? I just had an aha moment. You did? Yep. Oh my God, I understand this now. Aha. Now, watching someone else have an aha moment, and the fact that I myself, just in having conversation, like I'm having with you, that somebody has an aha moment and they kind of pass it over to you. So my aha moment was watching them having an aha moment. And I realized that, wow, I said these things that they asked me in this set of circumstances, and I said it like this, and aha, if somebody else asks me these questions, I can answer it like this. And because this person just had an aha moment because of what I said and how I said it, then that means that someone else could have an aha moment, you know? Aha, I see it now. Holy crap. Yeah, I get it now. I get it. Wow, you can't see the forest for the trees. Oh my God, I actually understand that now. wow, and I didn't get it before. I mean, statements like that. Oh my God, I get it now. And so when you can explain something to somebody else and they have an aha moment, it's kind of, I don't want to say backfire, but it comes back on you in that you sort of have that aha moment in that, oh my God, I can make a difference for somebody else. I can help, I can help them to understand where I didn't have anybody to help me understand. Or maybe I did have somebody to help me to understand, and I want to pass that along. And so, these rapturous moments can happen at any time. You know, it's not that you have to be a Christian to have, to have the rapture. It depends on how you look at the rapture. Well, I can only have the rapture if we all die and we all go someplace and we're going to be raptured in, right? Or the rapture can happen, when I'm having really intimate sex with my partner and we both climax at the same time. There's a rapture in that. Okay. Haven't had a rapture in 20 years, but, you know, I can remember them. But so what do you consider rapture? Does it mean that you have to have the Bible in your hand before you go to heaven, or the rapture fills you with joy and well-being and the so if you take that tone of voice, if you will, in that I don't have to die to feel the rapture. I can feel the Lord in my heart, and ain't that a rapture? I can feel the universe, and I can feel the love of all y'all that are here tonight. It's 11:11. There are 11 people in and 11 likes. Cool. 11:11. How about that one? Is No, he logged off, Steve. He's got folks working on a pond there at his uh, on his place, and he's got to get up early to be out there for them. And it's almost 2 o'clock. Wait, it's 1:27. It's 12:27 on in his world. But anyway, the aha moment don't come along much as I get older. I would agree with you, Tracy, in the big aha moments. That just really, some of them just literally knocked me down. And I would agree with you. But there are sometimes that aha moment is more subtle to me. And I might go, oh wow, I didn't understand that. I whoa, I didn't think of it that way before. And actually, it's a pretty decent aha moment. But because I'm more subtle about certain things now, and I muse on them and, chew my cud. And, later on I go, wow, that was pretty interesting. But it was actually a pretty decent aha moment. But it didn't flood me like things in the past. But strategically, spiritually wise, you know, there was one that is sort of escaping me at the moment that happened recently. And I was like, wow. But I didn't have that big aha moment like when I was in the middle of the lake kind of thing. But in its subtle way, it was just as important spiritually and understanding wise. So, but I would agree with you, it doesn't affect us the same and not as big. But I got to say that there's some of these aha moments that have just sort of been slipping in. And then later on, I look and go, wow, yeah, you learned that. Remember, you talked about this last month? Yeah. Well, you didn't really pay attention to yourself, did you? Well, what do you mean, Hawkeye? Well, now you got to look at this again. You know, 10 more days and you'll be 68. You counting down the days, ain't you? Did you go to have you been on your trip yet, Steve? Oh, I read it back up there. 9 more days and you're Branson bound. Okay, that answers my question. I missed that. So there are times when I see something I go, well, now that's really interesting. But then later on it doesn't I don't it dawns on me how profound that simple statement of, well, that's interesting, means down the line. So it's our accumulation of, oh, wow, somebody took out one of the likes. So there's 7 and 10 now. Wow, that's interesting. Somebody unliked. Okie dokie. I look it as the more we grow, the more true inner we obtain. There's a new understanding to pass, knowing that you were ready to receive it at the time. Yeah, that's a good thing, Steve. Mark. Mine says 11 likes. Mine says 10. But anyway, that's interesting. Yours still says 11? Okay. But yeah, those aha moments. So whether they be subtle or sometimes you have a moment and you don't recognize it until 6 months later. And then you have another aha moment. It's very interesting. But, and I'm always telling y'all to accept and receive. And it's sort of for me, I'm just like the last few years, I'm just open. I don't know how else to say it, but if there's something floating around out there, okay, um, I'll take it. There it just went back up to 11. Like old lessons, old learnings or knowing have new knowing when you're ready to receive them. We understand them different now. The ahas have growth. I would agree with you with that, Chloe. So, and I guess for me, in trying to explain this in a little more weirdness, the aha moments might be, fewer and farther between, and for some folks or most folks, but I had some really cool aha moments since in the last 3 or 4 years before I turned 70, and I expect to have a few more. So, they're not near as profound as some of the other ones, but in order to make jumps in our spiritualism, sometimes we have to really get kicked in the butt and have a really profound aha moment to get our attention. Where later on they're there, but they're not near as big as them giant aha moments. But anyway, but they're all important to our general spiritual well-being. And take the little ones, take the big ones, take them because they all add up, you know and they all make a difference to us. And so there are things that and when I picked the bear card tonight, with Robert on Robert's show, it was introspection. So, and having been introspective here, I'm always kind of introspective, but I had some curl up time on the couch when I was sick last, 2 weeks ago, and during that time, it was a little bit of some hibernation. So a couple of things came up that were old things, and I was like, well, how do you feel about these things now? Well, times have changed, and, I've had a heart attack, and I've had these other issues, and I've had back surgery, and I've had two back surgeries, and now I'm going through this thing, you know. So, how do I feel about something now, having had all these other things happen? Well, now I don't know. Let me just stop and think about it. How do I feel about this now? Have I changed my opinion? Am I, has, have I gotten stronger or less strong in my opinion? So, um, and it's nothing that was like ground shattering or earth breaking or whatever, but it was something that just popped up in my head. And I was like, well, hell, I don't know how I feel about that now. Maybe I don't have any feelings at all about it. Or maybe I'm just like, well, son of a bitch, the blah, 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 blah. So, but anyway, there, as I said earlier in this video, one thing I've learned about life is that's, it's there, is that every day you have to learn how to adapt. In one way, shape, or another, we have to adapt. And life is living a life of adaptations, picking up the phone, or somebody called you, or you got to do with this, or whatever it is, so that you're adapting to every single situation. And it's like y'all can probably see me picking at my face. uh, the itchies are back. I've got cream for it, and when I get off of here in a few minutes, I'm gonna spread cream all over my face because my face is just itching like madness. Yesterday and the day before, it was just nuts. And I've started back on the one of the blood thinners, and I didn't have the itchy face until I started back on this blood thinner. So when I go back to the doctor in a week or about 10 days, we're going to have a little chat about that. Also, I'm going to look it up and see if itchiness is one of the side effects possibly in that medicine, because I haven't had this issue. But anyway, so adapting, always adapting. And some of the adapting is a little bigger than others. There's construction in the highway, and you got to take a detour, or it's that somebody called you up, and and they want you to come over or something, or blah blah blah. There's different ways of looking at how you have adapted to your day. Certain foods are loaded with nano crap. Could be that. I've not had much to eat, Mark, and but I will consider that. I boiled some chicken and had a chicken salad sandwich earlier, and I had that same boiled chicken yesterday, and not much of it, but it itches like I back when I first started taking this heart meds. So, but anyway. But thank you on that, Mark. I appreciate it. Did say 12 a minute ago. It's 7-Eleven at 108 at it's 1:38. Was that an 8? Yeah, 1:38 a.m. So anyway, I want to find the cream and spread it on my face. I want to have another hit before I get out of here. But one thing is with the levels of shamanism, and the awakening. So if you're aware that anything could awaken you some more, if you keep an open mind that there are things in the universe that are just floating around, that you could just have a thought that could be just a random thought, could be a mind blowing and a mind changing event for you. Just some random thought out there in the universe. But if you're closed minded to it, well, there's nothing in the universe, or, the hell with ideas and blah, 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 blah. Why would I have an open mind? And why? But when you're aware that, well, I could have a random thought today that could change, the world. I could, hey, it could be mathematical. I could prove Einstein was wrong. Um, or whatever the situation. So, but so becoming a shaman, I can absolutely say it has to do with your awareness, learning to be aware of your surroundings, and then you learn how to be aware of your surroundings some more. Then you learn how to be aware of your surroundings some more. And you learn how to be aware of your surroundings even some more, And so for every time you have these aha moments or whatever, or these feelings of, wow, I got another level of understanding here. One thing that years ago I wrestled with, and it was like, so how do I find out whether or not I have progressed spiritually? Have I made any progress? Well, it's really difficult for you to do on your own because ego wants to jump in. The id has to be a part of this. So, but you say, well, I've had 3 or 4 different levels of understanding about nature. And what I used to think of as a kid and how I think about it now, it's the same nature, but I see it differently. I think I've progressed in that respect. I understand because I've seen spirit orbs and things, and I've heard voices, and things have come true, and I've taken pictures of stuff, and so my understanding of spiritualness, do these things exist? Yes. So where other people have but do I believe in ghosts and spirit world of that? Yeah, because one woke me up when the house was burning down. So had that not happened, now these are all things that have happened over time, but it was a tragic event when the house burned down, but it was also an aha moment and a big spiritual kick in the butt because now I believe in ghosts really, and I've seen them and talked to them, and and that there are other spiritual entities in this universe, and so that you understand different levels of spiritualism, right? And that all these other things could and probably can exist, right? So then you have the understanding of how other human beings and feelings, and so there's another level of understanding there, and so for every time you've done this, it's another level of your shaman experience, of your spiritual journey, because meeting people and interacting with people and even having an argument with somebody can give you an aha moment, or can give you something. Well, I had to defend my position about this, and this person really pissed me off, and they called me an atheist, and it's like, no, I believe in God. So but and how dare they question my spirituality and the fact that you had to stand up for it, and you got mad about it, and so there, then you realize, wow, I shouldn't have got mad. Oh, if I really wanted to show how spiritual I was, I shouldn't have got mad at them jabbing me and jibing me, and right. Oh, so there are so many different levels of this spiritualness, of the shaman awakening. Allow yourself to be there. Allow yourself to accept it. Allow yourself to just be it. As in with there, it. You just, without any questions or explanations, you just know it. You know it to be true. You know it to whatever. You just know it. Now, there are people who claim they know it, and it's their ego that jumps in. Well, I have made it to my spiritual journey, and I've made it to here. Okay. And then they say, And therefore, because I have made it to here, I'm now aware and I can now do this and that and this. And I look at it and go, yeah, no, I'm sorry, but yes, you have had an awareness jump, but your ego is so blatant and in the way that to me, you just wiped out what you said you learned because your ego, oh, look at me now. Now I can be considered a shaman too, and now I can do this, and now I can quit bragging already. If you really had an aha moment, then you should have learned how to be humble, at least a little bit. And so, um, and then later on, if these folks are really trying to be in tune, they calm down a little bit. They go, well, I've realized that I had this aha moment. And if they're any good and if they're listening, the spirits will speak to them and they'll go, I've, I've really learned something and it really was profound. But I also realize that this is just a drop in the bucket to all of the things that I will learn in my journey as a spiritual person, as a shaman in training or whatever. But then there are those people who just go on bragging. They just go right on bragging about stuff and, oh, and I know better than you do, and I know blah blah blah. And it's like I try not to do that with y'all, because there are many points that I agree on with like Chloe's uh, learnings and react to them. Um, yeah, we understand them differently now. That's absolutely. Um, but then there's my personal twist and my personal experience. But Chloe's right in her statement. Um, you know, but because each one of us has to adapt to the situations, it might not be clear cut every time when we rehash something that we've learned before or something, or there's a new twist that comes to us. But to the point, though, yes, yes. So, um, and our reality of understanding something, I always listen to somebody and then my brain gives an example to me. Well, this person said it like this, but it's sort of like, a frog's got warts and a toad doesn't. Or is it that a toad has warts? And, but anyway, but in this grand scheme of things, as a shaman in training, we must just keep an open mind. Just don't have to accept everything, but we shouldn't throw out everything either. And there's a lot of folks who claim to be open minded and sorry, but they got blinders on. And you say, well, Hawkeye, well, how can you make that determination? And it depends on the person, but I'll point out some not necessarily flaws, but chinks in their armor. Well, what about this? They're claiming they know this, and this, but what about that? I don't know. Well, then, how do you feel about it? We've had this discussion before, and shouldn't this be at least considered? They've had these huge aha moments. They've left out this, and this in that great aha moment. That's how you point out if somebody's being too egotistical, and the fact that they're bragging about it. Look what I did, and now I'm gonna because I've had this aha moment, I'm going to do card readings for people and charge money and I'm going to do this and I'm going to have that. And that's ego talking, you know. And sometimes that ego talking is just that. They really don't. It's sort of like we were talking about shamans earlier and witch doctors and whoever. And there are those shamans who, they're they're pretty much, snake oil salesmen. When the quiet elder in the corner over there is the true shaman. It's sort of like, in the Karate Kid, the master, wax on, wax off. Well, what's so important about this? You'll see, wax on, wax off. Well, but master, shut up, wax on, wax off. And at the end of it, I think in the first movie, he ends up getting a car, and but he also learned wax on, wax off, and it was the different techniques of how to use your hands and your arms and it's strengthened. But anyway, so it was wax on, wax off, but it meant a whole lot more. So um, there are some things in life that seem to be so immaterial that it's just wax on, wax off, when actually there's a whole lot more to it that's just unspoken. And it kind of shows up in the shaman world. So, but anyway, or at least in the spiritualness of things, if you keep an open mind. So I love you all. I do. Thank you. It'll be 3 hours and something since I've been on tonight. The barn swallows are back this year, nesting under the eave of cool beans, Steve. I guess that's cool beans. I love it when birds make nests around here around the house. And even the all the cats that I got, like 7 cats, 6 regulars, and a couple of extras. But I saw a bird come down, flew into the pan where the cat food is, and sat there pecking out little pieces. And the cats didn't try to chase it out; it left the bird alone. I was like, now talk about living in harmony. Hey, Mr. Laney. So, but anyway, there are so many levels. Like a couple of years ago, I was like, I, I didn't think I had the odd thought. I haven't learned anything new recently. I haven't had any aha moments. There's no way I could have learned everything, you know. Have I reached personally? Have I reached a plateau where I'm not nothing is make I understand that and this is okay and I understand that and I understand this and there ain't nothing new that's really come in recently. What the hell? Have I reached a point where there's no way I can understand it all? And then not long after that, I had an aha moment, and I went, "Well, that was cool." I had reached a plateau and there were certain reasons why I had not moved on because I had become stagnant. And the question in my mind was, how come I hadn't had any aha moments and so forth? Is because I hadn't tried to stretch my imagination, or like go for a walk in someplace else, or go camp and get out of my normal and so that I could have an aha moment. So it was basically my fault, and so there was a couple of aha moments in that I learned that why I hadn't had an aha moment and how to something to do, how to fix it. So there were several lessons in that. Have I reached a plateau? And the answer was yes. You have to be honest with yourself and you have to keep ego out of it and go, damn, I really haven't done anything to stretch it in a while. And I really haven't tried to, do anything. And I have become stagnant and oh my God. So that was an aha moment. So the first thing was the question, have I reached a plateau? Well, then, if you will study it and be honest with yourself, and in my case, I was like, well, hell yeah, it is my fault. So, how do we fix this? So, there were several aha moments with the realization how to fix it, and then fixing it, and then, and then the next step, and then, so there were three or four or five different aha moments crammed in that one thought back then. So it's whether or not you decide to make a change or take any actions on it. So it is up to us on whether or not we have any more aha moments, because it might be, and I say stagnant, it doesn't mean that you're in some kind of bad funk or that there's a darkness over you or anything. No, 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 no. I don't mean that. It may be that, but I don't mean that. Okay. It was just that I had kind of sort of become comfortable with how things were, and I wasn't, going on any adventures, or I wasn't reading any new books, or I had just become comfortable in my situation. But it, by being comfortable, though, there were very few aha moments, and I realized why and how, and fixed them. But anyway, so um, yeah, thank you, Chloe. And I'm fixing to get out of here too. So I love you all, and I do continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in the universe. And keep your hearts open to things, and keep your awareness. Just keep an open mind. You don't have to like searching for anything. Just keep an open mind, and things will come to you. I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and all of your relations and relatives will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many, many, many blessings that are out there in the universe. And in that law of three, which is still important to you and me, I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many, many blessings in the universe. And I thank you all for hanging out with me tonight, this morning, whatever. And it's an hour and a half. Take care of yourself, Steve. And hopefully, I'll talk to you before your birthday and before you go out to Branson. But I'm looking forward to your trip for you, okay? Because I wish I could go to Branson and go up there, but maybe one of these days in the not too distant future. But I'm looking forward for you for your birthday and to be with your brother and maybe meet up with Barry. So, um, yeah, happy early birthday, birthday, Chloe. So y'all be sweet, keep it between the ditches, and hopefully your roof don't leak like mine. When it rained this afternoon, I was sitting here in the chair and it was just raining on me. But anyway, I love you all and please be safe. All right. Cheers, everybody. An accident. I know, Chloe. I was just messing with you. But I got to go find my anti itch cream because my nose is driving me crazy. If you've been watching me, you're probably going, I can't watch him. He won't leave his nose alone. Oh, it itches so madly around here and across here. Anyway, I love you all. Please continue to be safe as possible. And a smile goes a long way, whether anybody sees it or not. Okay. So until next time, keep it between the ditches. Ween. And Bob, that was a little froggy earlier, but it ended up okay. So I thank you. Cheers, everybody. And until next time, adios. See you, Travis.